you know, Australians used to say like bloody and stuff. Like my mom doesn't understand like
Bloody.
why kenapa kok berdarah gini, apa hubungannya like.
What's your opinion about language slangs?
It's
Pretty
it's
good.
what
Pretty good for
it's
day-to-day use.
yeah. Well, yeah. It's what differentiate between like people who are learning and people who are already good at that language is what I'd say.
So, when you came to Australia, what was some of the language slangs that you first learned?
I think for me, Barbie, like barbecue,
Yeah.
Barbie, and then like
Okay.
sausage sizzle, and then like Arvo. I think Arvo I actually learned later on, but I think the most prominent one was Barbie and mate as well. Use a lot of mate. There's lots of mates in Australia. I think that's for me. And like Taka shop, Taka or something. I don't know. I forgot. Something like that.
Yeah. First one for me was rubber because all my life
Eraser.
in
That's
all
so
my life in
true.
Indonesia I always learn the word eraser, and then I went to I went to Australia and someone asked me for rubber. And although I get the logic behind why it's called rubber, it still confused me when I first learned that it was meant to be eraser. That was the
Oh yeah,
first
then
one.
you guys had like kind of a formal English apa ya, education, right, before you went to Australia.
Yeah,
What
I
was
did.
the biggest language slang difference that you guys kind of experienced?
That one's interesting. I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
interesting. I don't think I've noticed like a big difference in like the difference in like, you know, maybe I learned something in Indonesia, but it's different in Australia. I didn't really experience that. That's from my point of view.
Yeah, I'd say the same too. I don't remember anything of that, of the sort.
Then what is the language slang that, because for me personally, I kind of looked up Australian language slangs in the internet when I first came to
Oh yeah.
Australia, and like they say, oh, you have to say a cup of tea, you know, stuff like that, or
Oh.
you have to say kind of like
Oh yeah, true.
Bobby. What was like
Yeah.
Australian slangs that you expect people to use daily, but they actually don't?
Slang to use daily.
Well, considering I learned more Australian slangs after after I came back to Indonesia. It's kind of it's
Oh,
kind
you
of
did?
like most of the Australian slangs that I know now is just me looking at YouTube here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also sort of the same case for me. Yeah, me too.
Then, how would you compare kind of characteristics in Australian language to other English languages?
So one of the things that I noticed is that when it comes to Australian slangs, it's like when it comes to long words, they just make it shorter. It's like McDonald's.
Okay.
No one really say McDonald's in Indonesia, in
Yes.
Australia. They call it Macca,
Macca's.
Right,
which is
right, right.
very
Macca's.
Australian. It's like avocado and afternoon. They just say Evo or
Avo
Avo.
and Evos.
I feel like for me, like some in like Australian slang that's very unique. Like, yeah, Macca's is very unique as well. And like even like in the McDonald's side, it just says Macca's. It doesn't even
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
like the
true.
McDonald's because like I was like really shocked. But then I just like knew other slang I think would be Barbie. I didn't understand what Barbie was at first, but then I picked it up and I was like, oh, it's a barbecue. I feel like that's really unique to Australia.
Mm.
And also like Yui. I've only learned Yui like recently, like when I think it was after I went back to from Australia. Yui is like U-turn. I feel like that's actually pretty genius as well, but I feel like lots of people don't understand it that much. And that's pretty unique too,
Right.
yeah.
Was there a language slang that kind of stuck with you when you came back to Indonesia and like you spoke to a friend that could speak English and you kind of keceplosan?
Not really. Just because like
Not really.
I normally just don't speak English in at school. But like I would use if given the opportunity, I would use some Australian slangs to my friends to
Mm.
give it some little spice.
What about Maria?
I feel like for me, like the people who know how to speak English here, I don't feel like as comfortable. It's different when I speak to like my Australian friends, and when I speak to
Mm.
people in Indonesia who can speak English. So I feel like the only slang that I use is with my dad, honestly, and it's mostly just Macca's, because Macca's has really stuck with me, especially going to school that's near Macca's, like 3 houses away from Macca's. I feel like that really stuck with me as well. And like, yeah, it's probably just Macca's, I think, yeah. Because when I
Um,
like say stuff like this to other like my English speaking friends, like especially in like my debate club and stuff, I mean, I guess they don't understand that well, so I just avoid using those terms and stuff.
then when you guys were in Australia, since as young kids kita tend to be more gaul nggak sih than our parents. What were some of the Australian slangs that you had to explain to your parents, if there were any at all?
They were not at all for me.
Okay.
No,
I didn't
none
need
for
to
me as
explain
well.
anything. Yeah.
Do you notice your parents using these Australian slangs?
Yeah, see, the thing is, I just do it because it's so rare for them to speak English. Like, even in Australia, I mean, to
So true.
me, it just seems very rare. Even
Mm,
if they do it, they just do it in like a more formal manner, right? So I don't think they actually, I feel like they just don't know any Australian slangs.
fair enough.
I feel like for me, like it's the same as Haykal. Like my parents barely spoke English to me, like only if we were out in public and like ordering food and stuff. But I feel like my parents actually knew how to use Australian slang pretty well, especially my mom. Since my mom like worked, right? Since when my dad was studying,
Mm,
my mom was working. My mom worked at one half of the year she worked at an Indonesian restaurant like in Caulfield. So like that environment was like only Indonesians. But when the other half of the year she was working at the chocolate factory, right? She was packing like chocolates and stuff, and that was a more diverse environment, so it was like really like kayak apa lingkungan kerja yang kasar gitu. So I feel like
mm.
my mom like also knew like not just slang but like swear words as well from there. She picked up a lot of that stuff, and she was really
All
she we
right.
actually talked about this, and she was really confused, like I don't understand what this means. I translated it into Indonesian. I don't know why Australians say this, like Australians used to say like bloody and stuff. Like my
Mm,
mom doesn't understand like
Yeah.
bloody.
why kenapa kok berdarah gini, apa hubungannya, like my mom was really confused about that. But for slang they don't really use slang when they talk to me, no.
Then what about Indonesian slangs? What was, or Javanese slangs in your case?
Oh
What
yeah,
was
so
some of
true.
the unique Javanese slangs that you guys learned?
So
Unique.
much.
Yeah.
I feel
Oh.
like I thought I asked some people around me what does anjir mean, because I didn't understand
Ah,
it, and like also like bodo amat, I didn't understand what that
mm.
was. That was the main two, like the two main like words that I didn't really understand. What about Haikal?
I don't I don't know any like slang words that like stick out to me. From what I remember, yeah.
Are there any language pet peeves for you guys?
It's recent like
Any of
slang
them?
that's come up recently for me is like lots of my friends using literally and which is literally, which is like I was
Mm.
really annoyed at that point. It was really funny at first. Like I get that it was like from it's really like common in like the Jakarta area if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
especially Jakarta Selatan. It was really like funny at first. I was like, "Oh, these people are using literally, haha." But then it became really overused, and I was really annoyed by that. So I really don't like it as much as I did before. Yeah.
What about Haikal? Is
So
there anything else?
something like using English in normal Indonesian. It's like most of my friends they don't do that. Right? They use either Japanese or Indonesians and the slangs of those languages. They never really use Indonesian or like English slangs. But like
Then,
sometimes I think of like the people who are using English for slangs, and like I just don't. I can't bear the fact that people do that. So I would be really annoyed if people do that.
Right. Okay, so I've run out of questions. Thank you guys for sharing your experience and
Yeah.
attending this interview. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye bye.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
see ya.
you. Bye bye. See you soon.
See you soon. I just want to start with your introduction.
Mine is Khalid Barawi. Yeah, prefer to be called Rohis. And how many languages I speak? Well, let's see.